So my name is Caitlyn Love. I am a senior public relations student here at Temple. So I'm really excited to be here and talking with everyone, partially because I'm graduating in 3 weeks and I'm in that very nostalgic, cheesy graduating stage. So you're going to be hearing some of that throughout the whole presentation. I fell in love with communications my freshman year in college when I started my own blog. I am one of 2 students here from my town in Connecticut, and as I love being on this call, Philadelphia has the most amazing community, but I very much was not part of it. I felt like I was down here watching everyone be part of this great community, and I didn't really know where my place was yet, and I knew I loved to write. So I sort of made my own little community online. I made my own blog, had it private for a year before it went even public, and that was sort of before blogs in the influencer space were like really a thing yet. So it was a little early to go public, but that is what launched me into changing my major from politics to public relations. I've had 4 executive positions throughout college in different public relations roles. I'm currently co-president of our Her Campus Media chapter, which is a national digital magazine. I'm currently interning with QVC, and these are some of the other agencies I've interned with. So my experience mainly is in social media and influencer work, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Starting with influencer work, I, again, was feeling nostalgic when I put this whole presentation together, but these 2 screenshots on the left is my very first blog post in October, the first one that went public, and on the right is my very most recent blog post. And the reason I wanted to include them was because, as I feel like we've touched on this whole time, the internet is so very much a highlight reel. If I hadn't published some of the posts I had between these 2, you would think I was living the most glorious, privileged life, which by all means I am, but college has been some of the hardest years of my life. Between these years, I was diagnosed with a chronic spinal condition, and I was out of school for almost an entire year. I was taking my classes online before it was the thing to do. So I was extra ready for COVID, but it taught me about what it meant to be authentic online. And I realized as I was creating these posts and talking about new fashion trends I liked and new beauty products I like to use, I was really struggling personally, and I was going through things that I wanted to talk about, but it didn't feel like it was the space. I had mentors in my life who were telling me that brands wouldn't want to collaborate with me if I was being transparent about topics in my life like that. But I took the leap and I chose to anyways. Taking that leap is what landed me my first deal to work with Aerie for a year. I was one of their first college partners in 2018. I had less than 2,000 Instagram followers. They found me from my blog, said, "We loved seeing you talk transparently about what it's like to be in college." And that launched me to work with all these brands that I love. And on a personal level, encouraged me to just authentically be the type of person I want to be. And the right type of people will come to you if you put out the right energy in the world. Moving a little bit, I'm using influencer marketing as like a broader term, but this also just goes for all of us in the way that we choose to use social media. The biggest yes in focus for me is diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was last year on my blog. I chose to not be posting at all. I didn't post until I believe like December, January of this year, because it just didn't feel like it was my space. I wanted to leave the opportunities open for my community online that were living through these experiences and suffering this social injustice. I wanted them to have the airwaves, and I didn't think my support needed to take up that time. What's not okay is political silence. The influencers you see saying that this is a fashion blog, we don't talk about politics here. Anyone with a following, even if you have 100 or 100,000, people are there to hear your voice and your thoughts and your opinions. You have people looking up to you no matter how old you are, and you have an expectation. That being said, I was so outraged last March, moving forward into June, that I fell victim to being for lack of a better word, the infographic craze. When everyone was oversharing on their Instagram stories, I was feeling personally upset that the community I was from in Connecticut hadn't properly educated me about these topics of diversity. I grew up with all people that were just like me, that didn't make a big enough effort to care about other people in our surrounding communities. And I was so upset that I was vocalizing my opinions, but it wasn't the place and it wasn't the time. And I think that's what's become so important now, is working to understand each in our corners of the internet, how can we play a part in these conversations without completely taking up all of the space and speaking for other people's experiences. And then just more other generic content notes. I've had experiences, I worked with really amazing brands. I've also worked with a couple brands that I didn't do enough research before I worked with them. They were the kind of brands you love shopping with, and they're huge names. Major unethical business practices that I wouldn't have chosen to work with them if I knew about. I was 19 and negotiating my way out of contracts with these huge companies that didn't align with my beliefs. So if you're thinking about getting into the influencer space, or even just working for some of your favorite brands in a communications way, do your research and be proactive and be your biggest advocate, because you are the asset, not the big brands. They're lucky to have you working for them and participating with them. And I wish I had that mindset a little bit earlier and I protected my own talents. Just some examples of who I'm loving. I live on TikTok these days, so these are all on there. CNMA has been incredible in the body positivity movement. And I say that with like an asterisk, because I think that the body positivity movement has gone the wrong direction. And she sort of fell victim to leading it that wasn't her purpose on the platform. And that's what I think makes her really great at it. But then, and that also goes for Lizzo, is that Lizzo came and took her music career and realized that she had a voice and she had people that looked up to her, and she took advantage of that opportunity. And then Chris Olsen, I also just love watching his TikToks. He speaks really wonderfully for the LGBTQ community. Him and his boyfriend, Ian, make you feel like you're on FaceTime with them on TikTok, living their experiences. And that to me is how you can really successfully be on the internet these days. And that's where, from a consumer perspective for all of us, I feel like that's what we can try to mimic, is just being unapologetically ourselves and then letting the right people come to us and support us. It's not about being CNMA. It's how can I take her lessons to be myself in the best way that I can be. Moving a little more into social strategy. Right now I'm with QVC on our social strategy team, specifically working on YouTube and TikTok, which, yes, is like as exciting and slightly glamorous as it sounds. I work on their 6 YouTube channels between HSN and QVC. And these are some of our big campaigns we have going on right now, working to showcase different beauty vendors, working to, with Danny Seal, we're working on a clean beauty series. And really this experience has taught me that if you're interested in creating social content, there's also the opportunity in each company to be involved in strategizing that content and understanding how exactly with this entire symposium you're going to play a part in the emerging media. It's one thing to just create it, and it's another thing to be a part of understanding where you fit in. And then continuing, short form video is 100% where I think the future is. TikTok, YouTube Shorts that just launched in the US, Instagram Reels are working to develop their features. Everything we just talked about with transparency and authenticity, you cannot fake that behind a 60-second video. I would know from every job I've had, I sit behind a computer and make an Instagram caption that goes through 3 approvals and like 10 people have their eyes on it. And I don't think I've ever had an internship where like there aren't 4 people making each Instagram caption. And that makes it so easy to have it be perfectly said, everything you need to say exactly to a T, spot on. And you can't do that in a video. I mean, you can have a script, but I think it's just still easier to read how authentic someone is in a video. So this is definitely where I see things going, and I'm excited to hear there's a lot of you here that are interested in video too. And I hope maybe you can try playing around with shorter form video. And again, I'm going to be cheesy and corny, but it's so cool for me to be here and listening to so many of you high school students with such ambition and innovation and creative ideas, because I remember being your age, and I remember sometimes you come to college or wherever the next couple of years of your life take you, and it's hard to feel like you're not one of many with big ideas, like you're not a couple years away from those ideas really happening as you want them to. And I'm sitting here as an example of, you will eventually get to that age, and I'm feeling it, where you feel educated and you feel experienced and you're well networked and you get to watch your ideas become real and you get to work a job that you love. And I just am so inspired to see so many of you at a young age being so excited. So don't stop doing that, and like sit at every table you can, be a part of every one of these, and then like write down everybody's names after and add them on LinkedIn or send them an email. So yeah, that was just a quick little cheesy point, but I just am really excited to see so many excited other young people here. So yeah, thank you.
I have a question, Caitlyn. What are some things that maybe high school students can do now to maybe increase their followers? Like, so say maybe there's some students out there that want to pick up their followers. What are some of the things that they could do?
My biggest piece of advice would be to figure out which corner of the internet you want to live in. And maybe that's you reflecting on which other pieces of the internet you spend most time in and which other creators you care most about. I think it's a little hard sometimes to build a community if you're trying to hit too hard on too many different topics. So, which obviously that's not referring to comments revolving like politics or social injustice or human rights. Basic diversity and equity topics are not included in that. Like, please talk about all of that. But I'm meaning like fashion versus health, or like fitness versus beauty. Sort of find which specific category you want to live in, and then put most of your attention into following creators in that same category. And yeah, I think like that.
Thank you.